but like saying like the time. It's like sometimes it's a Wednesday, but sometimes it's a Tuesday, but usually like Saturday-ish.
Yeah, they have a whole website, right? I'm gonna pull it up right now. I'm also producing, so I'm sorry if I look up a lot, but yeah, they have an entire website here, kind of going into like what you're saying. Obviously, I will say though, as someone myself, I mean, I can speak another language, but it's not Japanese. It can be a little hard to navigate, all things considered. But yeah, exactly what you're saying. Like they have a few more things. They have an about section. I cannot read it unfortunately, but they also do have the ranking you're talking about, which I imagine this is some of the players you were like referring to.
Yeah, this top player at the top player. They got Lobster. If you don't know Japan, if you guys have seen a Blaster player that just runs up and just kills the whole lobby, that's Lobster. It's either Lobster or Rotaberu, but honestly, this is Lobster. But Ko in second, one of the best buckets in the history of the game. Shuma, the best V Splash, played Splash during the End Splash meta. Like you guys remember that era? It's like, oh, it's Squeezer everywhere. You need to run End Splash with the Squeezer. Shuma ran V Splash anyway. Bro did not care. Milk Crepe, one of the best pens, the winner of the first Area Club crown, very great player. Ryukun is an outstanding content creator and also a top player. Ryukun and Melon are honestly pretty similar in popularity in Japan. However, in the West, everyone knows Melon because, oh, that's the 5K guy, or like, oh, that's the top K52 from S2. Well, most people know him for like the 5K nowadays though, but Ryukun, sponsored by Exist, not sure still sponsored by that org, but great player. Honestly, they have sponsors in general in Japan is something we can talk about. Yeah, there's a good on awards.
I'm curious. How does that work?
Like Melon, for example, it was like Melon, Ryukun, and I think it was I don't remember the third player, but no risk today. They were sponsored by an org called Exist, and then it got like a funny nickname. I was like Ikazist because Ika is like squid, and then Ika and Exist makes Ikazist. There was that sponsored. ML was sponsored by them for a while, but right now Melon and Dynamon are sponsored by Yoshimoto Gaming, which is one of the more popular Japanese orgs. They do a lot of like esports in general, and they actually host a Japanese channel called Spix or Splatoon Topics. They like Japan likes to combine words a lot. Splatoon Topics, Spix, but they do a lot of guides on there, for example. And there's some other players like Norishio, sponsored by. I need to double check here, but Norishio has been sponsored by a good amount of players. I do think part of it has to do with how Nintendo is involved with Splatoon, but the scene is also just way bigger in like the player to knowing Splatoon ratio in Japan is much higher than the rest of the world, which is like crowded by more quote unquote money, not actual money, because there's no like prize pool tournaments in Japan, but more eyes, more attention is on the competitive scene there. Like King's Cup, another thing, it's not King's Cup isn't related to Area Cup, but just like an example of how popular Splatoon is in Japan there. The VODs have 500,000 views.
Oh wow.
On YouTube.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
Like peak or average?
Well, technically peak there because like it was for the qualifiers for the final, but the final and the qualifiers for said final were just so popular. It's actually insane.
Okay. Also, I wanted to mention, first of all, the fact that the Japanese players are really into portmanteaus, like combining words, is really funny because I think the Western scene does that a lot too. A lot of Splatoon players now just like to mash words together. But the sponsoring of players is that individual players, or do they kind of have like sponsored teams? Like, do they pull together 4 people and like you are a part of this org?
Yeah, great question. It's leaning a lot more towards the individual players, and sometimes in the case of someone like, let's take a Shuta, for example. Shuta's like a very young player, but he is sponsored by, gotta pull up the exact sponsor here, but he's sponsored but more for like quote unquote content creation, but like 90 to 95% of his content is literally just competitive Splatoon content. So like he's basically sponsored for Splatoon, but just under the content name. Competitive Splatoon content is like so popular to where it's like, people like they'll sponsor you if you play like a shit ton of it, that kind of thing. Melon sponsored for, it was like Melon, Ryukun, and Reskill. They were sponsors together as a group that would just do a lot of stuff around the early scene of Japan. But usually, it's leaning more towards like, this player is very good, let's sponsor them, that kind of thing. It's great. I really like it.
Yeah, and continuing on the sponsor end as well, like we realize that there have been sponsors in the past for Western Splatoon. We could go to organizations like In Control that has had either 2 or 3 teams at this time. Of course, still not in the scene actively right now, but in the past, In Control has had 2 or 3 teams. We also had like other larger ones like Ghost Gaming represented by Team Olive at the time in Splatoon 2. What do you believe we in the Western scene could do to try to reach out to get sponsorships as teams, or do you think the better way to approach it is as an individual trying to get a sponsorship?
It's interesting, and I do want to say we are getting into that direction where sponsors will start caring. A big thing is the idea of people getting sponsored for quote unquote content creation, but then most of that content just being competitive Splatoon, like Ryukun, for example, right? The scene is caring a lot more about producing content, which is just great for so many reasons. It helps a lot with like competitive Pokemon, for example, right? Because there's several creators that have a lot of views and a lot of eyes on competitive Pokemon because the players are choosing to make high quality content for it. The more we do that for the West, the more people will start caring, more money, sponsors care. They're going to care about us because we're giving them money. We're showing them, hey, if you sponsor this competitive Splatoon player, you're going to turn a profit because a lot of eyes will be on on my content because people care about the game. So it's definitely a snowballing type thing. Competitive Splatoon is just super popular in Japan, and then as a result, like sponsors just care more there. But if you're out there, make content, do the best you can. The more that happens, the better.
Yeah, I think that like it is going to be pretty interesting, like seeing like content wise, because I know there's been a big push, especially in at least conversations I've seen on like specifically Blue Sky, where a lot of people are pushing to like try and do more content. Hell, we're doing something now, but not to get into that. But like, I think it's very important, especially because we've seen a lot of the Western scene. There are significant like bigger content creators, too many to count, the Splatubers, if you will, but I feel like a lot of them aren't really too focused on like the competitive scene. I feel like they capture a really good like casual audience, and I feel like one of the few ones that really like kind of meld the two is like, I would definitely say like Dude and Chara for sure. And I think that both of them, and especially Char actually actively still being like in the top level of play, and still actively competes and or coaches, I think is like a big aspect of that like makes it pretty interesting. And it's like, yeah, I agree. I think content is the way. It's how to make money. I mean, the only other way is like genuinely just charging for stuff. But I know like watching something is definitely cheaper than having to fork over money to be able to participate in something. That's why, especially in the social media digital age, everyone wants to just, I'd rather watch an ad than have to pay like a pay-per-view on like a tournament, right? Like that would be ridiculous. Yeah,
definitely. And for people that want to follow Area Cup even more, you can find their own website at areacup.com. So you can look at when upcoming events are happening for Area Cup. If you scroll down through their website, the next 2 Area Cups have already been announced. So make sure to go keep an eye on that. But for now, let's move over a little bit towards the bracket direction, because there is a lot of differences between how we run tournaments here in North America and Europe in comparison to how Japan runs it.
Yeah, I've got it pulled up here. They have a lot of teams here. It seems like, how many teams is here? Like 9 times 4, 36. Oh wait, no, there's a bye.
Yeah,
35, which is fitting because this is Area Cup 35, which is funny. It works out like that. But yeah, is there anything we should look out for, like specifically well, not look out for, the tournament already passed, but like what are some of the notable like teams here looking at this bracket? What do you say, Pastry?
Yeah, at least at this point, it's pretty convenient for us because the way the groups are sorted right now, it's sorted by the seed for the player that basically gets out, right? And the top two seeds from each team are making it here. For example, like we with the A1 at the top there. The first group is Lobster, Milk Crate, Melon, and Shuma, and that is a superstar roster. Like you have Lobster and Melon, two people that won King's Cup, the hardest Splatoon tournament legitimately ever. Milk Crate, who is a winner of Area Cup, the first Area Cup crown, and then Shuma, who placed second at the most recent Area Cup crown, and is that like top god splash that we were talking about before. And right under them is Trippy, Rusby, Roto, and Nispa. Nispa is actually the player where, like, there's a chance that you guys have like heard anecdotes from like Char, for example, right? Where it's like, oh, this top Dapple player is getting really good results. Wow, the weapon's top tier now. Nispa is leading that charge, and it's kind of the only one doing the charge, but. Roto, amazing player. Raspi, really great player. Trippy, also solid player there. But in the second group there, at the top is really good. You have Norishio, who, if like, there's a couple players that just break the echelon of Japan to Western connection. Norishio is definitely one of them. You have this Stamper guy that just posts these insane clips of like the most godlike movement you've ever seen. Norishio is that guy. Then we have Liar, who is actually one of the big parts in innovating support dually, because recently a lot of people have been more comfortable running dually as a support weapon, and Liar is a big part of that. Liar and Wasabi, for like the two where in a previous Area Cup, they both used support dually and placed second and first. Kind of convincing. Naigoda, winner of King's Cup as well, part of Egoist. Egoist is Melon, Naigoda, Lobster, and I'm blanking a lot. I'm blanking here. I'll remember the fourth one, but they won King's Cup. Top player at the top player. Yeah. All of them have like minimum. Oh, last one was Chocopero. Oh, oops. But all of them have a minimum of 4950 XP.
Okay. And XP is like the point system throughout the tournaments?
X Power.
Oh, X Power. I'm sorry. I forget. Listen, I've never made X. I'm sorry. I must admit. So it's not the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, that's it. That's honestly a fun point to bring up in general, like a side thing where it's like X, like in the Western scene, it's like, oh, what's your div? What's your div? Oh my god. Oh, you beat div. Blah, blah, blah. Japan cares way more about X Power. And they don't have a diff system. There's no rolling ban in Japan. There's what XP are you, and if your XP is good, I want to play with you. That kind of thing. So yeah, and having a forced. Oh yeah.
And well, I was gonna say in the div thing too, in the Western scene, just it's kind of happenstance. You know, we had Ludi come around, like this big league that runs, you know, about once a year, and everyone just kind of latched on to the Ludi divs, even though it doesn't really hold a lot of value versus X Power, which when you are in a scene that is so focused on X Power as your ranking system, it is consistent. I feel like in the West, X Power isn't a great determination because I barely play X rank. So my X rank isn't, half the time I don't even qualify for it. Or I get to X rank and I don't play 5 games because I focus on doing scrims, on doing tournaments, etc. Whereas, you know, they have a focus on it. So then it's more determinate of your skill because you are actually playing X Battle that consistently because it's favored so much more heavily. So it does kind of make sense in that region to you know, use X Power. Whereas we don't really have a great system. So we've just kind of relied on divs, which personally I don't like that we'd use divs. They don't mean much.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but I feel like the big reason I feel like a lot of people like Ludi and whatnot is just because it gives that like ranking per se. Because I feel like, I don't know, is like X Power like, because a lot of this is Splat Zone focused, right? Area Cup and everything, the Splat Zone area. But like when people talk about like X Power, are they specifically talking about like Splat Zone's X Power, or are they talking about just like any mode, just the highest in any mode? Like
they do, at least in the case of like, you know, posting your peak X Power or whatever, any mode's fine for that. Okay. And I would say like for like Japan tournaments, like encompassing the website that they use, which is ikanakama.inc, there's pretty much tournaments of every variety there. Like, okay, if someone like goes on that website, they like scroll down, it's like, why is there like 24 tournaments on one day? It's looking a mess, but
Something's never
like,
changed. Something's never changed.
Yeah. Zones is definitely the highest emphasis when it comes to tournaments, but you can pretty much find anything you want there. It's pretty nice.
Okay.
But yeah, the idea of Goody just being there for having some kind of rank in the first place, that's a very good note. Like there isn't really in either region a true competitive ranking system. Like Air Cup has their own, but then like Air Cup only includes Air Cup. It doesn't include cyrenbanshi High. It doesn't include 2v2 tournaments, which I mean you shouldn't include 2v2 tournaments, but those are really popular in Japan. There is a ton of tournaments that Air Cup just does not encompass because like it's literally just itself. But the Western scene doesn't really have that either. The closest is Sendoki, which is becoming more and more like that, like as the ranking system gets better, but that's still like a ways away.
Yeah, and I think like honestly, I feel like we're gonna get to a point where Sendoku kind of, at least for the West and like the people who participate in it, is going to be all encompassing, unlike something like Area Cup. Because I think like that Area Cup ranking is honestly like really strong. I think more orgs should do it, like or do some kind of equivalent, just like around in general. Like if you have a series of tournaments, especially if you're running like a weekly or something, it'd be cool to actually rank the players. It would give them that incentive to come back next week, right? But like at least with Sendoku, you know, originally it was just supposed to be third-party matchmaking, the same as like Face It or ESEA or any other like third-party matchmaking for like any other game. But here it's starting to bleed now that like Sendoku is becoming like a little bit more of that like all-encompassing tournament platform, while also a directory for players and also your third-party matchmaking system. And the more all-encompassing it kind of becomes, I feel like Sendoku as like a leaderboard system and like a ranking system is going to become more prevalent, especially as more like big orgs start putting their tournaments on there and then making them ranked. So I am interested to see like where that's gonna go, because I like the idea of a ranking system, because like at that point, like who cares about your div if you're Leviathan, right? At some point it's gonna get to that point.
You know what this system kind of reminds me of? Like it reminds me on how Mario Kart runs its own events. Like, sure, yes, it is more centralized with MK Central and everything, but just in that same idea, you have those specific events, which is more of a league format given. Like with that main event being Mario Kart Universal, that's like a 6-week regular season with like 2 weeks of playoffs, similar to the Alika of Ludi or any type of league that we have in this scene. So, but on top of that, it's all based off of individual rankings, where especially in the more lounge scene, everything is based off of an MMR system that is set by the people that put together the MK Central lounge system coding. I don't know what to give credit to that for, or who to give credit to that for, of course, but I feel like that's kind of what we're getting into when we're starting to rank players based off of actual X power, like Japan is doing, because it's like, hey, once like in Mario Kart, it's like, oh, you don't really play with people that are like a few ranks below you. Like, oh, I could be master, but I'm not going to play with someone that is sapphire for whatever reason.
I really like that you brought up how each player has their own individual rank, because I mean, I think Udi is an amazing thing. I think it's really, really great for like a lot of reasons. But I really do not like that each player does not have their own individual rank. I get why it's like that, because you kind of just need to put players into the same league to have league under the ink. But I really wish there was a way for a player to, like, if you have a DivX guy or a DivX results guy and like a new player and they're all on the same team, the system like breaks, because one, it's subjective, And it's kind of subjective. Like there's some objectivity to it, like because of the results, but it's like there's no direct number MMR. This player is this number of this ranking. It's like this player has this results with these sets. I need to look at these and determine what div they are. But like if a div X player, like a div like 25,000 player on the same team, someone's div is getting messed up.
Yeah, that kind of happened with like Zenith. Actually, I think this past Ludi, I think she was on like a div 3 team. Or Div 2 team or something like that. So I heard because she was playing with like a bunch of people who were way lower and just having fun with it. So yeah, kind of like what you're saying. Like you have a top level player wanting to play with friends, and then all of a sudden you're Div 2. So
yeah, and again, it's that point where that's what a division is. It's, or at least like what division you're placed in is. It is the opinion of a seeding council of your group's skill level. So technically saying like, oh yeah, I'm a Div 5 player, that's incorrect. Your team is Div 5. You with those 3 or 4 people as a group have been given Div 5. And then even then, that is a hand-seeded thing. So a lot of the time things fall into the cracks. You have those teams that just sweep a division because the seeding council made a mistake. There are teams that get underseeded, teams that get overseeded, and you're like, as you all mentioned, there are going to be those teams where you have a higher level player with a lower level squad because they don't know their own skill level, because they couldn't find another group, because they want to just play with their friends and kind of play down. And it creates this weird thing too, where we have this hesitancy to play with people because we don't want to get dragged down. I've seen so many people who don't want to form a pickup or a team with players because they're scared that if they play with somebody, they might lose, like they might like drop a div or 2 in the next Ludi season. And it's like, who cares? Play with the people that you think you can grow and improve with, and then grow and improve with them.
Yeah, I think that like at this point, Ludi, they already do the free seeding, right? They might as well just have like a separate system that they do before Ludi, and then they just release that. They get like impressions based off of that. They just do like a big rating system of everyone, and then they're like, okay, cool, you know what you are. So if you actually want to play in the tournament, you can play in the tournament now. You don't have to waste our time. And also, I think they would be just doing a good service to the community in that regard, because they're kind of seeding a ridiculous amount of people for essentially for free. And that's all people want. If that's all people want, just give the people what they want. They just want to be seeded. They just want to be told like where they're at. And the tournament, not everyone wants to participate in that, but people definitely want to get the clout of like being a certain division. So maybe that's the solution. Seems like Area Cup kind of does that. Are these groups, kind of bringing it back to Area Cup, are these groups seeded? Oh, they disappeared on me. Give me 1 second. There we go. Are these groups seeded like the top level like groups? Like A1 is like a group of all high level seeds in terms of like teams, or are these like kind of just like teams put around anywhere?
Oh, okay, yeah. So for the groups themselves, they do try to seed it so that we don't have Melon plus God plus God plus God versus Ryukun plus God plus God plus God. They try to avoid that. They also do try to avoid Western players playing in different groups. Like if there's like 2 NA teams, they're gonna try to put them in the same group. And I know this because in the last Area Cup run I did, I fought against FT Win and IDM Kia. It's like, wow, it's so funny that we got the same div. It's like, yeah, it's completely on purpose.
Segregation all over
they just have a lot of players complain about like, oh, the lag, I want to host, so I can't lag.
That's fair though. That makes sense. I mean, yeah, that's just how the cookie crumbles when it comes to like online games. So we just gotta find a way. We gotta get a bunch of people tickets to Japan or just like all central location. They just have to play the game every month.
You just like spend like 3K and get like 4 players to Japan for a week. It's like, we're gonna do like 2 locals here.
Yeah, exactly. Like a Kagaribi, we just send the best of the West. We just send the Snails group and just be like, try to win one, please.
That's wild.
Okay, so that's cool that they're kind of like so there's each individual group is like Like, for example, the number 1 seed of the entire event would be the top of their group, but the number 2 seed would be the top of their own separate group. It's kind of like that, right? Or am I wrong?
Oh yeah. Okay, for the rank that's right next to the ID, that's their original seeding, and then from there it's like, yeah, the idea at this point, it's groups by like how well they play. So, for example, Lobster's Millicrape group, they're at 1-1 because they got first in the group and they're also seeded to be first in the group. But then Norishio's group was seeded second, while the group under Norishio's group, which has Noatsumuri, Himajin, Ben Ace, Benza Ace, and then they were seeded to be first in their group, but then they lost in Nori's group.
Oh, unfortunate. Okay, yeah, and there's like the individual groups here as well, so they all played. For me, it's harder to read because they got rid of the socials. Oh no, these are the team names, right?
Yeah, well, team name, and then right next to them is the captain.
Oh, okay, the captain. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. Oh, they use Discord. It just says Discord so there. Oh my gosh. Hey, there's a commonality. It's just funny seeing Discord just in there. Okay.
It's a bunch of Japanese tech Discord.
That is always the one saving grace that like Japanese, like a lot of like things that I've seen like in Japanese do have occasional English words. Like an Area Cup, like it says round 1, game 2 in English. I'm like, oh, thank God. Like now I know what round I'm watching.
Yeah.
Like they give us a little treat once in a while and let us know what's going on.
No, yeah, exactly. And that's pretty interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah. A lot of the common words in like applications for things are often translated into English because many of them are, or many applications like Discord is made to mostly or the key target audience that it was made around what was an English speaking audience, and that's how the owner started it, so they keep it. It's a name, and from my knowledge, a lot of the Japanese scene likes to keep the name in the original language. So
that makes sense. Yeah,
very nice.
I do have a question though. Were there any like significant group stage upsets in this tournament that you know of? Because I know you know a lot about the players and what they play and whatnot, but what are some of the notable upsets that we could take a look at that was like surprising? Because I know you mentioned some upsets earlier, but did they happen in the group stage or was that towards like in the bracket?
Somehow, some way, there was like no significant upset this time though. Sometimes some crazy stuff happens, but thankfully the seating council they had some pretty good hunch.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Looking through them.
Okay, so we can take a look at the bracket. Oh, go for it.
Yeah, I do want to highlight here in A6 the top team right there.
Yeah.
Doshio, captain by P. They won some crazy sets. Like in the quarterfinals, they beat Nori's group. Yeah, absolutely insane.
If I have my notes down correctly, this team got second in the entire event. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So there's nothing to stop that.
Yeah. It's not like the players themselves are like noob type players. Like, for example, Rotaberu has been one of the best splasher players and one of the best S-Splash for like quite a while. Like, it's just like, if we were like using the tier and the div analogy, it's like if there was a bunch of div X plus players, like Rotaberu would be a div X player. But it's like seeing that group tear through. I would say tear through because like both the sets were last game, but like beat Nori group and then beat Rusu's group is like wowza.
Oh, okay. So that's pretty impressive. Okay, that's pretty interesting then. So yeah, for anyone who doesn't know and it's not familiar with tournaments, so yeah, there's the group stage, top 2 from those groups, they did do round robin, but then it takes us to the overall bracket, which I thought was pretty interesting. Obviously, for the sake of time, they do everything in one day, but like they do everything single elimination, which I think is pretty interesting because I know in the West we do a lot of double elimination or a lot of double elimination fans. So that's pretty interesting. You mess up once and you're out because these are best of 3s up until semis, all things considered.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know. I feel like best of 3s they go by fast compared to compared to best of 5s, where once you're in a best of 5, it's kind of like you have time to mess up like a map or two, but in best of 3 you mess up one map and then you have to play perfect essentially for like the rest of the set. So
Yeah, on the back burner.
Yeah.
I'm a. It's interesting. I would say I'm a fan of groups in the single elim. It's to an extent. I don't think it's perfect. Maybe it's like you can have like a perfect group stage. You can like drop not a single game, and then you lose a game 3 in your first round. And it's like, wow, I have nothing to show for that. Awesome.
Yeah.
But what I do like is there is no silver bracket, bronze bracket, iron bracket, plastic bracket type thing. It's the top 2 teams make it out. If you don't, sorry, you're not even streamed. I like that it's very geared towards, giving the players that did good, more screen time. I don't think that it's like a bad thing to have a silver bracket or bronze bracket or iron bracket or plastic bracket or wood bracket, but it gets to a point.
Yeah, I definitely hear that. I mean, I think like the focus on those, I would imagine, is that like people want to have more games more than anything. Where it's like, because I've noticed, especially in like the West, a lot of the time, it's like what you said. There's a lot of tournaments over there too, but I feel like a lot of our tournaments are more exist because people want practice more than they care about like proving themselves, if you know what I mean. It's more about like they just want to get in as many games as they possible for the night, and then instead of, as opposed to using like a scrim system or even like queuing up in sendo queue or for most of the players in the West, God forbid, like just going to like open or even just like solo queuing for the night. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
An idea then to base it off of that, how would we feel like if our general system is to make tournaments for practice? Why don't we just make an event in a ladder format?
That's a good point.
I feel like the Western scene is at an interesting spot where tournaments are kind of how we practice. I know a lot of teams that just only pretty much enter tournaments. Like they use it as a way to scrim. A lot of different teams, rapid fire. But at the same time, they're still very result oriented. I feel like in the Japanese scene, it does seem like the emphasis is who wins the tournament. Doesn't matter. There's no, like I said, there's no double elimination. There's no silver, bronze bracket.
It's your pride on the line.
Who is going to win this? It doesn't matter if you lose, it's who's going to win. Whereas Western scene, people love to go online and go like, we made it second place in silver bracket. We came in whatever, like, the 18th place of the whole event. There's a focus on those results and also on the practice. So we could have events that are focused on, being an event made for getting more practice, but then people probably wouldn't want to play it because they are so result oriented and want that number attached to it that they can go post and be like, yeah, we made it this far. We've improved.
Yeah, the perception focus in the West is not that it's not just like a universal thing. Like it's like everyone universally wants to be seen as the GOATs. But
yeah,
the way we have a really large system that is based on the rankings of what sets we've won and what sets what our results are, and specifically the ones that we put down as well, it it leads to that kind of, we place fourth in a bronze bracket. I'm going to post this on the Team Blue Sky, and people are going to say good shit. But I mean, like, everyone is where they are, first of all. But or anything like, it's like everyone has like the total, like, you know, freedom to do that kind of thing. But the way the divs work and the divs of, oh, is this person good enough for this event? So let me look at the results in their sets and see. That kind of basing leads to a lot more of that, trying to min-max every single tournament result. It's very interesting.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's kind of like what Hammy was saying, where it's kind of like a weird situation where it's like, you're playing for the fun of it, you're playing for the sake of practice, but also there is like that pressure to perform. But like, that's what I think I like about like this right here is like, at least for the area cups, which I don't know if this is a good example because the area cup isn't necessarily, it's like what you said, it's kind of like an in the zone as opposed to like, I don't know, your SOS, your paddling pool, your weekly, your Megalodon Monday. Shout out like a million other weeklies I could we could bring up other things that they could be like, oh my gosh, they mentioned us. But but yeah, like it's definitely more of an in the zone. So like I feel like there is more pride on the line, there's more incentive. And especially now that, you know, we're talking about like, you know, top 4 or like top 18, the people who got our groups. I'm curious, like, is there any prizing? Because it is something I saw earlier on Blue Sky in a post underneath one of our posts. Are there any prizing for like area cup events? Like, is that something that you look into? I know there's some conversation about, oh, whether it's legal or not. But I've seen a lot of mixed things online where they're, oh, you know, sometimes it's like, oh, you can't use the entrance money towards the prize pool, but you can have a prize pool beforehand, stuff like that. So I'm curious if you know, like, are any of these events prized? Because I know, for example, like similarly to In the Zone, some of these events, some of them are prized, some of them are not, some of them don't say anything, so I'm assuming they're not prized. But yeah, I'm just kind of curious, like, is there any incentive, or is it just for the love of the game and getting that ranking?
I'm pretty sure that 90+% of the tournaments don't have any kind of monetary gain from specifically like winning the tournament itself. Because and I have, because what I haven't heard of any sort of you win this amount of yen for winning area cup. I haven't heard much of that. But also in Smash, there are ginormous tournaments with thousands of players, and you get a grain of rice for winning. So if it's like that in Smash, there's no way there's like actual like severe notable monetary gain for like Splatoon events. But I have heard of Sumi King Cup, which was a like a sort of for fun-ish invitational. There's a lot of top players still, but like they like to clan around, they like to run silly stuff in it. But there was some monetary gain for that. I don't remember the exact amount, but it's like you did have a prize pool for that. But yeah, a lot of it is like winning the area cup for, well, I mean the ranking points, sure, but like mostly the pride and the ability to show your skill and play against top teams.
Cool. I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of for the love of the game. We're all doing it for the love of the game at the end of the day here. But another thing I wanted to ask you about, because you had mentioned it online, and also you seem to be very interested. You have a whole document here about it. Before we head into like the top 18, we got to bring up the clickbait thumbnail that we have and everything. Everyone likes to talk about the Japanese scene, not for the players and everything. We appreciate you telling us about that, because I learned something today, especially about a lot of the top players. But the main thing a lot of people like to talk about when it comes to the Japanese scene are the weapons. A lot of the Japanese scene, from what people talk about, is that they use a lot more varied weapons, interesting comps. They pull out mid tiers, low tiers. Some of them are one trick ponies on those things. So I'm interested. What are some of the things from this like top cut that, you know, was definitely a big surprise, especially if you want to like point it out from your document?
Yeah, the absolute just biggest thing, but before like anything is spotted, because I'm finding it was a little bit weird, but Guga top 4.
Interesting.
Anyone that knows about Guga for the past like 7 years knows that that gun does not get results. It just doesn't. It's not good enough. It's the most fake good gun. It's been like that since S2. That thing had wall baller when baller was good, and it literally did nothing.
But it's working here.
This I do want to say this comes with a caveat though. So the player that played Google here was Tiramisu. And Tiramisu has been one of the best Splatoon players for a really long time. Just doesn't really do tournaments. Like they do a lot of solo queue, like a ton of solo queue and show up with Google there, but just doesn't really play tournaments. So this is like one of the very extremely rare times where Tiramisu came out, was a little hiding hole, and it's like, oh, do a tournament. Why not? Some of these old legs working again. And top 4 immediately after that. So pretty showing like, hey, I can still walk up to these tournaments and win if I feel like it someday.
Yeah, that's interesting. And also, like you said, like there's like solo queue warriors. I think that's a big part of the X-Rank experience, especially like the way they emphasize it a lot more. They're solo queue warriors. There are solo queue warriors. I feel like the only one that really exists in the West I can think of off the top of my head is when everyone was making a big fuss about deservedly so Jordan or Soulja or Jano Sushi getting that 5k XP. So I think that's pretty interesting. But honestly, I mean, he's playing a pretty generic weapon. He's playing Slosher. I mean, I think everyone and their mother is playing Slosher, and coincidentally also S-Blast. I think that's a big pairing that people like to talk about. Japan, they've got the meta figured out in terms of S-Blast and Slosher. So, you know, what would you say is like why they like that a lot, and when did that start happening? Like, when did people start saying like, you know what, we got to mix these two together?
Absolutely. So this is very fun because Melon and Dynamo actually had a 15-ish minute video where they talked about what is the state of the metagame, both in solo queue and competitive. I can go into solo queue like maybe later if you guys want, but for competitive, the idea of running guns that can just run forward and just nuke a guy off the map is very, very, very popular right now. And the main 2 weapons that Melon and Dynamo described for this were Mint and S-Blast. They actually say that Mint and S-Blast are about equal when it comes to that run forward and just nuke a guy ability. And I agree, because like maybe Mint can't just like insta hit scan tap a guy, but like Mint can jump in like 2,000 times and kill people like half the time off that. Like no other gun can just do that. However, Mint is not as popular as S-Blast because it requires more pain from its teammates. And that's a little weird on paper, right? Because it's like, wait, Mint requires paint from its teammates? Doesn't the Western scene see Mint as a gun that can paint and give paint to, you know, a midline that's more paint hungry, like a Squeezer, for example, right? Here's the thing. Mint is slow. It's slow. Fast, but when you swing, it's like you turn into a mini paintbrush. And what happens if you're in a spot where you don't have that much paint is you swing like 2 times and you just die. And I know that from experience. I played this gun in so many tournaments, and I just like walk forward into a puddle with like, or like a pool of like no ink. I think I can just kill a guy. I kill one, I instantly die. Or if it's good players, I walk in, I do 70, and I just die. Or 80 rather, does 80.
Yeah, it does 80. That's pretty sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I played it last night. I played Splatoon for the first time in forever last night. I had a friend who wanted to play, so I was like, oh, it does 80. That's all I remember from last night.
It's crazy. Breaks parries. It's on the unbreakable ball defense, but yeah, it requires a bit more coordination than S-Blast, but those 2 guns essentially define the metagame there. But that's low-key, it's low-key interesting in itself that specifically they bring up Mint for that instead of Stamper, because we talk about, oh my god, Stamper, if your Stamper guy's good enough, they just destroy the whole lobby. Zipcaster Stamper is the most thing in the game. It's not seen as that in Japan. Like, the gun is of course seen as good. It's still seen as like a borderline top tier gun, but Zip is honestly it's just not as valued as it is in the West.
It's because we like Spider-Man. I think it's because we like Spider-Man more. I'm sorry, it's just cool. It's just too cool. It's like a rule of cool. And also I think it's I don't know who plays faster, the West or the East, but it could be that too. It's a very fast special.
That's one thing I was going to talk about at some point. Maybe keep an eye out on an upcoming YouTube video from Beat. But that's one thing I want to discuss is the general speed of the game. It's not like Japan plays faster than the West. It's not like the West plays faster than Japan. It's just about, at least from what I see, it's about how they think about the game in general.
Very, very great topic there. Honestly, really, really good topic. And I really like the idea about speed because I recently honestly just followed into a trap when it came to the idea of speed. Because like when some people think of speed, they think of run forward, that guy, go,
Yeah. Yeah,
Exactly.
That's not speed. That's rushing. And those are completely different things. Like that's when speed starts to turn into feeding when you get too into that area. But there's actually an amazing post, like amazing post from Kyo that talked about the idea of speed and breaking it down into minimizing the time you're being useless. Which does things like, yes, taking key areas of the map, but also preventing the opponent from standing in a certain spot. There is, let me just pull up this list here. It's such a good tweet. It's such a good tweet. But
if you have the tweet, we could put it
a
up
general
here
idea.
too.
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, another thing. But another thing that Kyo talks about when it comes to the idea of speed is finishing each other's damage. And I love specifically the Sendo Q Season 6. I haven't hard analyzed 7 just yet, but specifically the Season 6 finale of Gray's Pickup and FT1. They do such an incredible job at taking space without dying. And anytime a guy would get hit, a teammate was there. Legitimately, I think there was like 5 fights max, where a fight happened and a guy did not get assist in some kind of way. Everyone was looking out for each other's damage and trying to finish it, which granted, they did have, Pen, Splash, midlines that do 70 damage and have Burst Bomb, except for Slosher. But still, that is a massive part of the speed, finishing each other's damage like that.
Yeah, and that's definitely a topic I'm going to end up touching upon, is just how people think about the game, and where I believe that Japan's style is similar to how Kyo has been expressing it in that type of way. It's not just about speed getting into like a more forward position, but it's about being smart about where you are going.
Yeah, so just kind of like being like how fast can you like just accomplish whatever it is you're doing, not just like physically where can you get where you need to be, but just more so just like let's make sure we get on the objective fast, or paint the objective fast. Let's make sure we get rid of this person fast. Let's get into this position quickly. Let's make sure, if they're trying to do something and maybe they pop a special or something, make sure to neutralize the special quickly. It's more about just kind of moving towards like the right positions quickly, or doing what you want to get done quickly, not just zip casting from one side of the map to their spawn and trying to set up a spawn camp or something. Yeah, for sure. I feel like that is like an important difference to make between like feeding and just being efficient. I think the better word is being efficient, because you tell people speed, they're gonna think like you think, oh yeah, it just has to be fast. I'm gonna run speed and swim speed up. That's all I'm gonna do now. Yeah, it's about being efficient for sure.
Yeah, to us, speed is running a full QR with comeback and self.
Why are we making fun of my build right now? What do you mean?
You're 80 deaths, just only fight.
Yeah.
It is just it's the speed of your actions. It's how can I take an action and make the time it takes shorter, and then also shorten the time it takes to get to your next path, but also matching the speed of your teammates too. Obviously, if you're running at a faster pace than the rest of your teammates, you're going to end up, if you're going to get set up in the correct position where you should be set up for, defense, for example, if the rest of your team isn't matching that pace, you're just going to get left behind, or you're going to go too far ahead, you're going to be separated, and then it's just all going to crumble. So it's an intricate dance of being efficient, being fast, but also being coordinated.
Yeah, and to bring this back to the Area Cup, the event one more time, still keeping on the idea of meta, we were talking about S-Blast a bit, seeing how common that was within the event of its own. And I want to bring this over to the winning team. Correct me if I pronounce any of this wrong, but it is Kayami Tana with Kayami, Rentana, Kurokuro, and Rubiton. Where their comp was double bucket. So like it was pretty mirrored for the most part, but just having the general difference between a second bucket versus S-Blast in those final games. How does the S-Blast really affect the
It'll play, it's fine.
All right. How does that mindset of choosing between having an S-Blast player versus a second bucket player make inside of the Japanese mindset?
Yeah, I would say in this case it's actually very funny, because usually what happens in the case of having two bucket guys on the same pickup, for example, Kami is an amazing bucket, Rentana is an amazing bucket. Usually what will happen is one of the bucket guys just play a different gun, because like you don't want to stack on double strike, because double strike in itself is pretty slow. Like both your front lines, when they try to snowball something, they end up leaving themselves vulnerable. Like at that point it would be better just running an S-Blast for having a gun that can just run it down and just nuke a guy, as well as still having like that same combo ability, having 3 up for self-sufficiency. And even in Area Cup Crown, Melon's group with Himajin and also Dentana, that's two bucket players right there. However, Himajin ended up playing Pen for that group instead of bucket. So this time around, instead of having like two bucket guys and like one guy switches off bucket, there was like, you know what, let's just do it. Like what's the worst that can happen? And apparently the worst that could happen is winning Area Cup. So that's pretty good worst case scenario.
Really good worst case scenario in that situation. Yeah. I think it's pretty interesting because I feel like we haven't seen a lot of like doubling up. At least I haven't. I don't know. I mean, my base of knowledge is not playing, just Char's like meta preview videos. But yeah, like you didn't really see too much of it since like Crab Tank was like super popular during the beginning of S3.
We did have the triple splatter shot with pencil.
Oh yeah, that's right. That happened too. Yeah, yeah.
Oh no!
Oh my goodness.
Very creative comms here, guys. but yeah, it's like interesting to see it. It definitely seems like this like Splash is a mainstay with pencil. I did hear they also had a Headit somewhere in the top 4 as well. And I was pretty intrigued about that, because honestly I know a lot of people were talking about like 9.3 and specifically like, oh, you know, the reign of pencil is going to be over, but we still mostly saw pencil. I mean, we saw and specifically in Japan, you know, we saw Headit in top 4. We didn't see any of that in like Sendo Q finale. So I am like interested. They seem more willing to like experiment, kind of like what you're saying, especially with like stuff like double weapons, even on a weapon that isn't considered. I mean, it's considered top tier. I wouldn't say it's not considered top tier, but it's not considered like so overwhelmingly broken. You know what I mean?
There's definitely it's interesting, because I would say, especially nowadays, if you look at the top 16 of an amazing Japanese bracket with a lot of great Japanese players and bracket with a lot of great Western players, the amount of experimentation is about the same. But I do there are some times where a really top end player will end up going something that's a little bit weird. Like for example, King's Cup, which has happened a bit back. In the Clams Invitational of King's Cup. So think about this, right? You know, so many top Japanese players you have to fight. You're on stream. Hundreds of thousands of people are watching you or will watch you. It's game like 2 or 3 of the sets. And you, as Melon, decide to run Respawn Punisher against their comp as 52 gal.
They read Respawn Punisher.
Yeah, one of the games in their Clams finale, the Clams Invitational was like, yeah, I'll run Respawn Punisher. I feel like it would give me an optimal advantage as a frontline against these guys. Editors, no, it did not. They still won the game, but it did not do anything, basically.
It's funny.
There is that willingness to try something just a little bit funny that I would say does still happen in the West. Does still happen in the West, but I feel like it's more extreme in Japan. Like one player, for example, Udabo, right? Who I do believe won, either placed first or second in the most recent Area Cup crown and has a lot of great results in general. Udabo is willing to go VDAPL for some maps and did go VDAPL in the top 4. Like that willingness for a pen guy to be like, I'll play a D tier gun because I feel like it gives me an advantage on this map is there, and I really like it.
Yeah, especially map specific counter picks and stuff, or not counter picks, but like experimentation. I think that's pretty interesting as well. Yeah. So
in general,
go for it. Sorry,
I was gonna also say there are some differences between the Western scene and the Japanese scene in terms of weapons. Like looking at Area Cup, there's a lot of Splattershot Pro, just like V Pro, where that's kind of a weapon that hasn't really been touched in the Western scene in a long time. Where in Japan they look at that and go, I mean, it's a highly accurate gun, 3-hit kill. It has a long range sub that can do damage, and they're confident enough to have the accuracy to actually hit those line markers, and then it has the crab to boot just to round out the kit. And I feel like a lot of weapons in the West, we kind of look for like something that's more foolproof, but I think in the Japanese scene they're willing to take more risks and kind of go for that high risk, high reward with some of their weapon picks and be able to just, really play like they're going to win.
Yeah, I like. Oh, yeah, you go.
No, I had nothing to say. I was just saying, yeah.
Okay.
I just say yeah.
I do like the idea of foolproof, like the Western scene liking stuff that's foolproof, because I mean, one, like let's just take a great example, right? Where Kara and the Melon Dynamo video, just like comparing those two. Recently, Kara made a VOD dump video talking about making good comps, and Kara brings up the idea of redundancy, running multiple other things so that if one guy dies, the other guys can fill for that. That idea of redundancy was not talked about at all in the Melon Dynamon video. They talked a lot more about specifically what is the environment and what is good there, and the ideas of having the rundown guy that can just nuke a guy, or something I didn't talk about earlier, how having a special, specifically in solo queue, and like this kind of ties back to V Pro in a way, but having a special that's very good at killing. Think Crab. Don't think Zipcaster, because Zipcaster, that doesn't technically give you more damage. It gives you like the little arm spinny thing, but it doesn't really contribute to the I will nuke the lobby thing.
Yeah.
Also, definitely the difficulty factor to it. But those two things pretty much define the metagame, but also paint, which is part of why Pen's so popular, because like Pen doesn't have as much total paint output, but Pen paint is very consistent still, and way farther, meaning it's way safer, meaning you can do it more, meaning it's more active. But they didn't bring up redundancy at all. Kara does. That little nuance can be part of why sometimes we see, like, it doesn't happen as much nowadays, thank God, but like a year ago, people would be like, I'll just stack like 3 shooters.
Yeah, it's crazy where it's like, hey, maybe let's try to stack something really quick, or maybe let's try something else for a quick moment. Meta always tries to adjust to itself. It's whatever the most effective tactics are available, after all. So, so with that though, let's call it a wraps here for Area Cup, as Sendu Q finals also recently happened. thank you, Pastry, for joining in for this Area Cup conversation as we're going to bring Siren in with Remixed Fern, who also looked over some SendoQ stuff on their own. Siren, one of the casters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as we get ready to go to break, I also just want to give Pastry an opportunity. Feel free. Thank you so much for coming on and giving us a little lesson here. You're welcome anytime, especially if we need to cover Area Cup stuff. But where can the people find you before you head out?
Absolutely. So if you want more competitive Splatoon content, Blue Sky is legitimately perfect for it. Literally today, I uploaded a list of top players for a lot of the strong weapons, like a lot of top tier, high tier, little bit of like highish mid tier guns. I'm gonna update that more, make it a lot more organized, but it's very comprehensive and it's divided by region as well, which I'm a big fan of. I also stream a lot on Twitch. In fact, on Twitch, I'm going to do some coaching, some VOD review later. So if you guys are, finish the podcast here, like listen to SQ Major, worrying about that because there's some insane stuff that happened. This one for sure. I'm going to be streaming coaching around that time as well. So a lot of Twitch, Blue Skies, some other socials like YouTube and all that. But yeah, those are the big two.
Thank you once again, genuinely amazing guest. And if we'll definitely reach out for more Area Cup stuff. But as we head over to looking back on the Western side of things, we'll be heading to a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you guys in a second. Also, this is a hot mic break. I don't care. Hello, chat. Hello, chat. I'm also leaving. This is CKK. I'm also leaving. I was just filling in for the fourth spot, or I guess the third spot in this case. We couldn't find any other Area Cup nerds. But yeah, we're gonna be getting Siren inverted here. Yeah, that's gonna be.
All right. Well, this is a hot mic, but I'm still gonna go BRB for a quick second.
Oh yeah, definitely get your drinks and everything. Also, hi Fern, hi Siren. Just letting you know, this is a be right back hot mic. So don't worry about it.
I accidentally joined the VC a second ago. My bad.
No, you're good. You're good.
Gonna lock me out of these doors. I'm just gonna break anyone.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Also in the show information, if you scroll up, I have the permanent links. I'll get off the number 3. Fern, if you want to hop in the number 3, go for it.
Do you have the links somewhere?
Yeah. It's some show information. It's the same link. I need to figure out how to leave mine though. Let me get rid of this spot. They both left. The other guys, they better come back in time.
I will give a fair warning, by the way. For SendoQ, I wouldn't ask me a ton of questions about what happened in pools because I don't know.
Oh yeah, of course, it's fine.
Okay,
I'm telling you, these 3 also like did a watch party of like a multi-stream with like 12 different streams for pools. So
yeah, well, like whenever I have one of these events where they want me on camera too, and it's like I have to get like ready for it. I'm like watching on the side, but I can never like dedicate my full attention.
Oh yeah, no.
There we go.
It's a lot. I mean, we'll also have some most of the information up on here. So
wait, I'll be right back. I need something to drink.
Oh, of course, get your drinks now while we're on break. We got 5 minutes. What song should I play? I don't know. Dude, I don't know. That'd be good. I'd like that actually. What's the name of that song again?
Back to fly.
Wait, back to flight. This is gonna get
Fly Octofly.
Oh, Fly Octofly. Sorry, that's gonna get us demonetized some way. I don't care. Oh my gosh.
Oh boy, that's wild.
All right, good luck. Good luck with the SQ section.
Okay, see you, Pastry.
Thank you, Pastry.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going behind the camera now. Let's go. I hate being on camera. Well, I don't hate it, but like, this is behind is where I belong. Behind is where I belong.
Welcome to the club.
You did volunteer to put yourself on camera.
Oh no, I tried finding people. I tried finding so many people. I was pinging people. I was begging on Blue Sky. I was like, please, somebody.
I wanted there to be exactly 4 people on screen. So bad.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I have everything set up as like 4 in the Photoshop stuff, and that's not like movable. So
we only had 3 for a while during the watch party.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was Vapor's doing. I don't know what he did. I don't know what Wizardry did.
I'll drag the original document and hit the others behind on a new scene.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. I think 4 is a good number though. I think 4 is a good number.
Mm-hmm.
I'm personally a 4 fan. Jin from League of Legends. If you know, you know.
Oh my goodness. True.
I doubt there's much of an overlap of like playing Splatoon and League of Legends. God, I hope not.
No.
All things considered.
Like, not at all.
In the conversation.
Oh my gosh. Wait, let me pull up.
I mean, if I remember correctly, he started with League, so.
Wait, who did?
Keon.
Did he actually? That's funny.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Wait, we need to stream us playing a League match one day. I think that'd be funny.
Oh god.
That'd be hilarious. That'd be hilarious.
That'd be.
I have not played any type of a League game in probably like 6 years.
That's a good thing, all things considered.
Dude, I need to get Splatoon players to play Super Vive with.
Oh, actually, you know what? I would be down. I've been meaning to try it.
Oh
When
wait,
Super
yes.
Vive, back when it was still in like the open beta, like the test weeks or whatever, me and a lot of Splatoon players would play it.
Dude, it seems so
And then,
fun to try.
we all stopped before the game came out.
It's so fun. Like,
yeah, we played a lot of it, and then we all just forgot.
That's crazy.
It's funny. Why did I pull up?
I can't remember the names of the characters. Who's the one like the like dual like guns like assassin character dashes around a lot?
I've been called like Shrike or something. I think that's the one with the
Shrike
sniper
was like
rifle.
the bow and arrow. Yeah, sniper
Yeah.
rifle or something.
You
should know her name. I mained her.
she's like the Tracer character. Hold on.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I mained her. I did some crazy stuff. But that was also back in beta, so everyone sucked.
Shiv.
Shiv, yes. I played a lot of Shiv.
I like Kingpin
Mm.
and Jin. Because
I feel like every time I get invited to comment or to talk on Beep, I'm just gonna keep talking about every other game.
Yeah, pre-show this guy was talking about Rocket League, like.
Yeah, we're just gonna do like, yo, Wall Masters Toronto is happening. We're just doing a Valorant podcast. I don't care.
Just doing a Valorant watch party. And we're just taking over Splat Chat. Just forget the Splat part.
For Worlds.
Yo, wait, that would actually be fire.
I know someone going to Worlds, so anyway, we have 5 seconds.
Well, we can extend it. Also, Siren, if you wanted to use like a VTuber or something else, or honestly, I could just use, what is it called? What is that one thing called?
Profile picture.
Discord reactive.
Reactive Fuji.
Yeah, there you go. Have the links.
What happened?
What? Nothing happened.
Oh, okay. I thought you said something. I'm sorry.
Never.
That's funny.
Ooh, not me. Okay.
That's wild.
Oh, we also need to change
Anyway.
names. Oops.
Yeah.
It'll work out. It'll work out. Trust.
I spent this break not doing anything break related. Oops. Sorry, chat.
So where do I do my react? Where do I put my thingy?
You could do it for a Video Ninja, but honestly, I could also do it for you. Worst case, I don't know. Try if you can do it through the fourth link, the fourth camera, and it's in the show information channel. If you scroll up, if you can't, I can always set it up for you.
Okay. I've never done that. So it's
Good.
always my webcam. So.
Oh, okay. It's all good. All good. I can set it up for you. Don't worry.
Okay. Do you want me to just drop a pic for you somewhere?
I was just gonna use your profile picture on Discord if that's cool.
Okay, you can do the shark roller coaster.
It's kind of fire. I cannot lie. I cannot lie to
you. You can absolutely do that. Go ahead.
All right, I need to. Fern's like being my imposter if I don't change it. Right. Okay. So I have the names. Just need to do the camera.
That's me, CKK.
Fern is now CKK, everyone.
Oh my gosh. Fraud alert.
I do all the graphic design.
Surely.
Is it your passion? It's not mine, but you could, because it's not my passion. That's why you could tell it's not.
Yeah, that's
horrible.
my ult.
True, you've never seen them in the same room together, so.
True. We've also not been on the podcast at the same time. So if you think about
True.
Yeah.
it. Oh god. Let's hope this doesn't crash my shit.
Nah, you should be gaming.
Okay, I think it works. I think it's pretty sick.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like it.
Okay. So are we ready, guys? Are we ready to head back?
I'm chilling.
I think so.
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1. You guys are back.
Yeah.
I need to change the topic. But you guys are back.
Yeah. Welcome back, everyone. We have earlier discussed what was going on around the Japan side with Area Cup, found out how to follow Area Cup for future events, and some little bit of meta discussion. This time around, we're here with Siren Remix Fern returning from last week as well. And Siren, you were one of the casters for the Sunday Q finale in Block 2.
Yes, I did get a very cool opportunity to do that. It was kind of one of those things where it's like they ask you to do it like quite a while in advance, and I'm like, oh, I'm sure this will be just like a little fun little thing, you know. And it ended up like so many people were talking about it beforehand. I'm like, oh no, what did I get myself into?
Isn't that the case with like everything though?
Not always. A lot of events will like ask me to commentate like sometime in advance, and then it's like 10 people watching.
Fair. We're also on the IPL channel, which is one of the largest Splatoon channels here on both Twitch, YouTube, and just in the Western scene in general. So it does kind of make sense why it could be so big, and with all of the lead up to it, with how stacked everything was, you couldn't really hide at all.
Yeah, no, there's no hiding whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and Fern, how's it going, man? Been a second.
I'm good. Definitely. The finale was super fun to watch, so I mean, right. But yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hope chat y'all are doing great as well. But last time we did Splat Chat, we ended up doing some power rankings, and Siren, I don't know if you have seen them yet, so if CKK can like sneakily like throw them up on camera, here we go. Now you should be able to see that. There we go. Oh yeah, there we go. So these are our power rankings that we did with Keone on Thursday. The event has passed. How would you rate these power rankings throughout the most part?
I actually need glasses. So what am I looking at? I have in that first tier, who is that?
Snails.
That is Snails.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even dispute that. Um, top
Yeah.
4, who's that first
Top
one?
top
FT
4
win.
that was we had FT win in second.
yeah,
Top
Metro.
4 was
Yeah.
Metro and Vanguard.
Okay.
With
Vanguard.
Milky Way, we had at number 5.
Huh. Milky Way. Milky Way's the one right below Metro?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. The Moonlight and
Hypernova.
Okay, that's their logo. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I recognize Healthy Diet Food Groups for their lack of a logo. Fried Pikmin. And we have top 12.
It is such an easy team name to make a logo for, and they just have it. Like,
yeah.
I could think like a food pyramid.
Anything food related. Yeah, food pyramid. Anything food related. No, just a picture of a blue Pikmin.
Yep. I'm actually not so familiar with team logos. What is this K?
That is Camden.
Camden.
Wait.
Oh.
That is Camden Artifice Parasail. And the last one we have there is Honkai, which ended up getting moved over with Yotl Totl after we made these power rankings. So.
Oh, okay, so this is not the full updated power ranking.
Yeah, well, there's only one team is different, and we would have also put that team in.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah. Honestly, I can't be that offended. Are these ordered in the tier as well, or is it just like these are kind of
everything except the top 12 line is ordered?
Yeah,
okay.
and even then, Camden isn't. We agreed Camden is 9th, but like the 10th, 11th, 12th, they were all kind of in the same spot for us.
Yeah.
See, I was getting prepared to be super offended, but I'm not. I just can't be. This is like this is a cold take. This is just what we know.
Yeah, we conceded a lot when we were making the power ranking. And even when we did, we had like our bold predictions of who we thought were going to win, and I think we had an FT win, 2 Metros, and a Snails. Like it wasn't.
Wasn't quite bold, but
because I wanted to go really bold with it, but I'm like, realistically, like I can't. Metro was in the nice like middle ground where it's, they're not one of those, like they're not Snails, they're not FT Win, they're not Milky Way, they're not those big teams that we've seen at the top at like it basically like the world level, or at least the top of the Western scene, but they still had what it takes to win. Metro got the 2nd seed, they did make top 4, so that's like the boldest I felt like I could go without just saying like, hey guys, guess what, this rookie team is gonna win.
Yeah. I think that's I mean, sometimes you got to take those chances, so that way, like when it does happen, you get to go, "Oh, I told you so. I knew this." By the way, like I knew the secret sauce. It's totally this one. But
I think that's what the Vanguard pick was.
I got it right.
I mean,
well, in terms of winning, I predicted Snails.
Let's go.
But
it was only Fern that got the bold prediction correctly.
I mean, it wasn't bold.
Was it really too bold? Yeah, just looking result wise, I don't know how Snails does it and end up being that favorite to win. And we'll continue with that conversation on a bit later. But how would you grade these power rankings that we did?
F through S.
On like, F through S. Okay. I'll give you a solid. Wait, S. Oh. Do we have an S minus?
Yes, we do have an S minus. Yeah, it's like American grading system, but with like an S because it's Splatoon. We can even have an X if you would like.
Oh, okay.
You can Splatoon.
Are you making a tier list of our tier lists?
Perhaps.
I think are you gonna have a tier maker with all the tier lists?
You should just keep making the picture smaller too, so that it's just like unreadable.
Just be like,
crop this, yeah, and then put that in a tier maker, and then next week you can get the next person to do it as well. Then, actually just have them keep rating as it gets smaller as well. So it'll work out. Yeah, I'll give it like an S- for accuracy. The point is deducted for not enough ambition, just let's put our faith in some of the underdogs a little bit more, and also I think we need to take down Vanguard Peg. And if I get controversial here, I mean, they're just not cut out for our community. Am I right? Just maybe not Twitch streams.
Yes.
Maybe.
Fight me.
Maybe.
See, we didn't know that till after the fact.
Yeah.
That was like during the watch party. We had like a live watch party and looked over a blue sky and went, huh.
Oh.
Yeah.
We saw the gray post and we were like, oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I as much as I don't want to hurt their feelings, I kind of do. So,
that's so fair.
Yeah.
For what they did, they deserve to get flamed about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Get flamed all you want for that behavior, and you're inviting yourself to it as well. So I'm right now on the mic, I'm not a TO when I'm speaking. I'm speaking as someone who commentates on the scene. I'm going to say what I want. So I'll say that. Learn to behave. I would take them down a few tiers just for that. But clearly W's greater than sign morals.
Beautiful. And with that being said, let's try to go through this event and build out the storylines that we can take out of it, because we definitely had a lot of unique, or not so unique, but interesting matchups that happened. And one of those in particular, if I can just pull up the bracket on my own end, was the group stage for Moonlight. Moonlight in round 1 ended up going 0-3 to Hypernova, and then later taking FT Win and Metro both to game 5s. Able to take the win off of Metro in that game 5, falling just short to FT Win in round number 3. So Moonlight showing signs of life after a rough start, but that might be something interesting to look forward to as they continue to grow.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, I mentioned kind of before we got on here that I didn't get much of a chance to look at the group stages for the tournament because I was busy getting prepared. But I remember seeing a lot of the Moonlight stuff, and that was some of the stuff that I actually caught when I was able to hop on and get a good look at it. That's absolute crazy work. And then, like, I know consistency is key with these types of teams, and to some degree there is like a bit of a rock paper scissors element to playing, especially when you have maybe more of a niche lineup with your comp, which isn't like textbook, oh right, this is our Splatoon Western comp, yada yada yada. It's gonna have a slosher, it's gonna have a pencil, and then everything else we can do whatever we want with. Moonlight doesn't usually follow the base template that we see nowadays, and so they kind of can run into these matchups that make things a little bit harder on them. I can see that happening with a team like Hypernova, where they are now dealing with that kid who could just be giving them a hard time. But like, they have made such amazing strides as a team, and I'm like fully expecting them to stay together, knowing them as a group. I don't see them breaking up anytime soon, and that's one of those things that has proven to make these teams stronger over time. Like that's the reason why healthy diet food groups has risen to the level that they are as well. So I like I'm not sure where I'm overall going with this one, but like I just expect to see Moonlight perform better in future tournaments. Like I think we could see them move on to that top 4 spot very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do we?
I agree with that because I'm a Moonlight believer for sure.
Mhm.
It's because obviously there's the element of, with them having consistent branding, consistent roster, it's easier to root for them. But again, having that determination and like just, if anything, the stubbornness to just stick together and find a way through it. Because you did mention, Dat Kid on the Brush in that first game did give them a lot of trouble. We were watching during like the watch party that match, and just seeing how much difficulty Hypernova gave Moonlight just with the speed they were playing at. But I also, Moonlight is the kind of team that they're going to look at that and go, okay, well, how do we stop this from happening? There's not, I don't think that those losses will not make them falter, especially again, beating the number 2 seed Metro in a game 5 in round 5, even when it didn't even matter. Bringing FT Win to a game 5, almost getting that upset as well. Like they have a lot of good stuff going for them.
Yeah. And to bring it back to that Hypernova set, do we feel like that could just be a comp difference where Hypernova just outbeat Moonlight? I don't want to say on weapon select, but effectively on weapon select, because they have Synapse with that 52. Henlo being very aggressive in their own right on whatever Splatana they want to bring out. Dat Kid on the Brush. Like, there's so much movement, and with the assumption that Synapse wants to go with that V52, that's almost a complete shutdown on Shadow because they play Tent most of the time.
Right. I mean, it's the team with essentially 2 tent counters playing into the team that's practicing tent all the time. And we were talking about on the watch party that the teams that were running tent in the early half of the tournament were really not doing very well. I mean, even when they're playing 96, they have the wall, they have Kraken. Like it is a bit of a struggle for Shadow, especially, and when you're playing that is one of your main aggro weapons where Omega has been a bit more supportive on decav. It's a bit of a struggle to get going, especially when the other team is putting up so fast, pace that's so much faster. So I think it's a little bit of a comp diff. I mean, Hypernova is also just a really good team. Like, I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility that they beat Moonlight just by beating Moonlight. But no, I think clearly, like, there was some aspect of they struggled just against the comp in particular.
Yeah, definitely. It's just another thing that I am personally surprised to see here, but also not really surprised. Group A, round 5, Yaltel Tossel versus Paracel, where Yaltel Tossel ended up getting that 3-1 victory to close it out, coming in as the team that wasn't really supposed to make it to begin with. They were number 13 on the leaderboard, but with Honkai unable to show up, Yalatazo is going to, or was that team to make it in. And taking out Paracel, which is another up-and-coming team with some players that are experienced in Sendoku finales in the past.
Though that being said, we did see Yaddle they got other wins throughout the bracket. If you look at the overall, Parasail went 1-15. Their only game win was against Yaddle in round 5, which is very unfortunate because they went the entire day without taking a single game off of any other team, and that's not how you want to go about it. So Yaddle Toddle again bringing Candon to a game 5, going 1-3 against Vanguard. They had a bit more going for them.
Mhm.
In when you're in Sendoku, a lot of these lower seeded teams are in kind of their own category. We kind of talked about that in the pre-show last week. But so they are kind of competing against each other, and it just that they ended up on the top, or Parasail, and same with Artifice too, also going 1-15 in Group B, just didn't have the best day. It could have, it's maybe another day they would have done a bit better, but unfortunately, they just weren't fully prepared the day of.
Yeah, definitely. And looking over towards the top cut now, it was pretty much normal as we could expect it to be. Snails, Metro, FT Win, Milky Way, and Milky Way in their own right, experienced players. Metro on the rise players. They're competing with these top teams. FT Win, they've proved themselves many times in the past, and Snails, we'll talk a little bit more about them later. But is there really anything that is key to note about looking at these matchups individually or even in game?
I don't know. When I look at these 4 teams, I don't really I don't read this as these are people who are up and coming. Maybe at this point I've just inventoried a lot of these players into my brain a bit. Milky Way just reads as a different okay, I hit the randomized sim button on Sayonara and this is what came out. It's it's a lot of just old names getting thrown together, and that's kind of more or less what the top level scene has been. More or less, people just play musical chairs for as long as they want, and it kind of leads to a lot of weird situations like these, because at that point you kind of understand what every player kind of operates on. If I'm Jared and I'm playing against Kyo, I know what he's doing. If I'm Goss and I'm playing against Yeti, I probably have a good idea of what he's going to do in these games. So I don't think any of these teams should have gone into that top 4 feeling surprised by what they saw. I think any of them should have gone into this pretty well prepared. I know they didn't have a lot of time between groups and Top Cut to get prepared, but at that same note, it should just be kind of natural at this point. They should have a basic understanding of what they're going to see. So I think that also, when you remove that element from this game, it becomes just a pure competition of who can do this better. And that's more or less what I saw. A lot of times you'll see players in the top cut, I'm not going to name names, kind of play ego check and just say, well, no one's going to challenge this. But when you have no one surprised that that's how you play, you just play ego check. They're going to band up and group up and play a certain way to deal with it, and I feel like that's kind of what we saw.
Oh, I definitely agree. I was pointing that out a little bit in the watch party as well, where you had some players where they're just like, hey, let's do this. Let's try to force the other team to look at me, but oh no, I cannot get out alive anymore. So it's like, was that really a worthwhile play at all? Who even knows about that? And more looking towards those finals now, where we have a really huge question at hand, which is Gray and U Leader on the road to become known as the best of the West in this current day of age?
I think Gray has kind of been on that trajectory for a while. U Leader, I'm gonna be honest and say that I haven't been following as closely, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. But it felt like everything was like circling back to Gray in those games. Like S-Blast on top of like it's definitely one of the highest skill ceiling weapons in the game. Maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. But I thought every play that Gray made was pretty darn smart. I very rarely had anything to say, and when I did, it was just like funny coincidence. Like this is like a minor slip up and probably nerves because you're in grand finals of a huge tournament. So looking at that, like I think Gray has been on that grind for a while, and if he is ending up on the top, it's well deserved. And I think this event is a good sign of it. But we also have to look at things in the lens of the fact that Splatoon is a team game. So you could isolate a player and say, well, I think this guy is better than Gray on his own. Well, Gray plays with his teammates like nobody else and still does the crazy shit you're doing. So, like, make it make sense.
Yeah.
It's a funny combination because again it's especially in the discussions we had earlier today where it does seem like the Japanese scene as well does have a lot of individual focus similar to how the Western scene's been tending. It's how can you be the best player you can possibly be, but also how can you be the best teammate you can possibly be, because like you said, it's if there is somebody who's better than Gray mechanically, better than Gray strategically, are they going to win against a pickup that Gray is on? It doesn't matter how good you are as a player individually. If your Sendo results page doesn't have constant first place, are you actually the best player?
Mm-hmm.
It's just my teammates, bro. It's just my teammates. Like just get me on a team. I'll make a super team. This is
all right. Get me on a team with 3 Grays, and then
I want Kiver. I want.
Give me Gray. Give me Kiver. Give me another top player that's been around for years, and we will have the best team.
We got to start doing like fantasy drafts for Splatoon where we just start picking for individuals and just say like this would be like a good team, but we don't have like a consistent like format or like league or like set of tournaments to like give points to people for that fantasy bracket. You know, if because who knows if a player is going to play in a tournament. We have some of these top players who only show up once every couple of months to play in a single event just to remind you that they're good, and they disappear again.
We used to have at one point in Splatoon 2, there was a like tournament where it picked like an A, B, C team from North America and Europe, and they like played each other in a tournament. And I remember, I think it was someone being mad that Bran got on the C team.
I don't remember that format. But I do remember. I remember Tassel. Is that it?
It might have been like Tassel All Stars.
Oh, that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The K-Bot EU versus NA.
Yeah.
Lovely series.
Yeah. But I'm scrolling through Gray's individual results here, up until this past New Year, and yet that's one thing I was going to point out. Which thank you CKK, that where U Leader made a tweet saying that themselves and Gray have only lost to 2 tournaments since October, and just looking at Gray's individual results as well, there is 1 second place result in the past 6 months, and only 3 of those do not have U Leader on that roster.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of figured out how not to lose, and I think Gray as well. in my experience, like doesn't play a lot of like quick pickups, it seems. I mean, he plays with pickup teams, but not in like random SOS runs, like or random paddling pool runs, like a lot of other higher to top level players will. And just to like pull out a stat thing, the highest KA average in top 4 is U, and you can say like, oh, it's just pencil like assists, and like the second highest is Gray. So the duo is putting up numbers. Like they're winning. What, they won 7 out of 8 games they played in top 4. So maybe a whole tournament the stats are different, but I mean, I think more of the question is like, not that are they the best of the West, because it's like, what else do they have to do to show that they are? I feel like at this point it's like, how long or how high are they above everyone else at some point?
Yeah, just looking at general stats as well that's brought up here. Looking at KA average, U leader Gray top 2 easily, and even looking at U leader only an average of 2 deaths, which is the second lowest from what I see here.
Now the funny part of that is that you died twice in 6 out of the 8 games that he played in top 4. So it's almost like perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy just how dominant they've been doing this, and looking at that death average as well. Yeah, Gray is towards the bottom, but they're still getting those KA to help out, especially playing that blaster position that we were mentioning a bit as well. Like, what's the point when you can just pretty much explode someone right away?
Yeah. I mean, as a side note, I will bring up the fact that like KA aside and everything, Noah slash U leader is sitting at the very top of the standings for Sendo right now. Like, period. Just number 1 ranked player. That's like 20 points ahead of anybody else. So you can even like look at this tournament in a bubble and go, okay, well, like these are probably pencil assists, but you can't really deny like the set win that you need to do to get to that point in that kind of leaderboard.
Yeah. It's just crazy how dominant like U leader has been in this solo queue. Like you said, over 20 points above number 2, which is Kyo, which we all know is one of the best players that NA has had to offer since ever, kind of.
Yeah. It's harder to think of like a more consistent North American player than Kyo. That's for a fact.
Yeah. So with that, Sendu Q as a whole, how do we think the event ended up turning out? Do we think that the hype around it was deserved?
Well,
you first, yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it was an interesting one, because I think starting out it was very hype. Like, the group stage had a lot of matches that didn't go exactly as planned. Like, there was a lot of sets that we on paper shouldn't go to a game 5 that did, and just seeing all those interesting matchups, and where we did the watch party, we were watching a bunch of different POVs and looking for the interesting stuff. Whereas I feel like with like, just the main IPL stream, maybe you might have missed some of that action, but especially the top cut was kind of a disappointment. Seeing 2 sweeps in the semifinals, and then the finals being a rematch that was previously a 3-0 sweep in the group stage, ends up being a little bit of a letdown, because you look at that grand finals, you look at Snails versus Milky Way, and you say, okay, well, Snails just swept Milky Way earlier today. Is there any universe where Milky Way comes back and wins 4 games to take this best of 7? And they did win a match, but ultimately it was Snail's game. like to win for sure. So I think personally, their group stage had a lot of interesting stories that could have been created, but it ended up kind of dying down towards the end of the finals.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it was I would see all these VCs on Discord, and there was just like people with like 20 streams, like 20 tabs open of different POVs, like Coco Melon style, like watching like the second one game ends, just click on another tab and find one that's still going, just on and on, like make sure there's something always going on. So like the event was very well tended to. I was really happy to see the scene get that excited for a tournament, because nowadays it feels like a lot of the excitement has been going down for a lot of players. But on the other side of that, a lot of people have been getting very like renewed excitement for the scene, myself included. I've been like, okay, I want to play again. I want to do good. Um, you know, we let things die down a little too soon. Let's get the ball rolling once again, and show them what's good. So I've been very like happy to see the scene kind of get hyped for something once again. And I think like it's crazy the difference that little tiny balance patches make in the game, because it just leads to people finding different solutions that work, and you know, it's less redundant. And now we're dealing with a bit of a revival once again, so I'm glad to see it overall. And I'm, you know, I think it'll also lead to a larger interest in actually playing Sendo Q this next season, both for myself and I'm sure plenty of others, because they now see the tangible result of doing good, and what that grind results in. So it's nice.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. And we also, another thing, at the very end of the Sender Q stream, IPL did a little reveal for what we now know is Super Jump number 5, 6, and 7 to just look out for the rest of this calendar year. The next 3 super jumps are announced. One later this month, if I remember correctly, and then one in September and December. So basically, like trying to get it quarterly in a way. Yeah, at end of this month, mid September, and then early December. So I'm interested to see what happens there. But I'm just glad that we actually have an event that is announced far ahead of time.
Yes. No, it's super nice. No, I mean, like, it's nice, really nice to have things to look forward to, like, both as a player, because, like, I mean, I can just put Super Jump in my calendar. Like, when SAC was announced, it was like a few weeks until qualifier 1, and it was like, well, guess we're not playing SAC. But it's, I mean, I think a lot of people, me pretty loudly, have been like, we need to know, both as players and spectators, like, when things are going to happen. And short of actually them happening at the same time every year, you can just say when they're going to happen many months in advance. Like, even not for LAN tournaments, but for online tournaments, it's important. And this is like, oh, it's the major. Like, Super Jump is like the online major to happen, like, for them to be doing it so consistently and so like running it like a genuine major circuit every year is super, super cool. Let's go Moonlight for Super Jump. I think that would be hype. But anyway, no, it's just really exciting to see. Like, I think Z is heading this, but just to have that kind of have like an online major that is open and we know when it is very cool.
This is a different event, not that same event.
Oh, is it not Super Jump?
IPL has a separate event that they made an announcement for the announcement that hasn't happened yet. But they,
okay.
I think what IPL has been listening to everyone consistently saying, we need people to advertise tournaments more. We need people to advertise tournaments more for months now. And then finally they're like, what if we announced the tournament like ahead of time? Like it finally clicked. It finally got to a point where they announced the next couple super jumps and because again, a lot of these bigger orgs that are more organized do just have these dates set in stone and they just don't tell anybody until like a week before and then nobody knows it's happening. And having that ad, they can just play that trailer during other tournaments, like during SOS when there's breaks in between sets, just like play the promo, remind people that Super Jump is happening, because if you didn't watch the Sendaku finals, because maybe you're busy or didn't care, if they don't play that video again, you're not going to know the Super Jump's back unless people talk about it. So they need to keep promoting this and reminding people that it exists. And then more people will play in their event. People will get ready for the event. We'll have teams like you mentioned, Moonlight. Now Moonlight, if assuming that they know that Super Jump is happening, they can look at it and go, okay, like this is our next big event. Like let's get ready for Super Jump. And they have kind of a goal in mind of here's the deadline for when we need to get everything together so that we're ready to go.
Yeah. And it's one thing I like about Lands too. I'm looking at Riptide because for the past few years they announced that the next Riptide is going to be happening. I don't remember if they actually like dropped the days, but the last day of Riptide they announced the next year's, and I just find that so exciting because you could just be like, hey, Riptide is going to be coming back again, or another event's just going to be returning, and then later drop like, okay, here's our trailer with signups. Cool, thank you. Now we really know where to sign up for this event. Now drop another announcement or something along the lines. That's what I think the general LAN scene does well in. For the Splatoon community, that the online scene should try to take a look towards to even just better promotion or just dropping a day without signups yet.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, Tammy, Fern, Siren, anything you want to add on about upcoming events? Lands even, because that was a slight mention, and upcoming projects you have in mind and doing. Let's start with you, Siren.
Yeah, so I'm gonna drop my canned line of sign up to get on my level in Toronto. I know not all of you can cross that border, and that is okay. I know also some of you have been sitting around planning on going, have your flight and everything booked, and then just haven't registered at the event. You are a pain in my butt because I am trying to figure out how many teams I'm gonna have. So if you could get I know none of these people are watching, but let's just sign up so I can look at the pretty number and then send that to Joe and go, hey, look. We're literally sitting at 59. Could we have a slightly more pleasant number to look at? Anyway, that's really all I have. I mean, I guess aside from that, go to MomoCon next year. We'll probably be back. It's just it always takes us so long with the turnaround time when we have to get a license and everything. So I'm gonna put my money on us being back there next year. So I think just they already have signups open for 2026 MomoCon. So I think everyone who went this year would strongly agree that it's a great event. So do that too. Go to Riptide. But I know almost everybody's already planning on that. So I don't even feel like me saying that it's gonna do anything. So that's all I got.
Yeah, Hammy, don't forget to sign up for Gobble.
Wow.
I signed up. I might not even compete, and I'm already signed up.
So buy some money.
Hey, we just had to like give a little yell at the other Canadians after all. So, but Fern, any projects you have coming up soon?
I just want to say Zenith is the best Unsplash in the West. And I have a video on Team Energy at some point, and also go to Riptide and Kai Scholes. That's it.
Now we're promoting locals out here. Fair enough. love those organizers at Shoals. Hammy, yourself, anything you want to say?
Yeah, I guess I'll just plug my usual stuff. You can find me on Blue Sky, always yapping about stuff at hitw.inc. I also agree with Siren. Please go to Gommel. I want Canadian Splatoon lands to be successful so that I can spend less money on flights flying to the States constantly. Please let me do domestic flight. Save me money. Save me time. Layovers are awful. Also, apparently, I like yapping on podcasts so much that I announced one of my own. I am starting a new podcast called Critical Inking. First episode, if you're watching this live, first episode is going to be tomorrow night, talking about the tournament debate and how there's too many tournaments in the scene, and seeing if that's actually the problem or if there's something a bit deeper to it. And I have a lot of other projects planned for the future. So again, you can find me anywhere at Hammy in the Wall or Blue Sky, hitw.inc. And yeah, that's my plug.
Yeah, it has been very great to have all of you on. Thank you to Pastry as well for showing up earlier. CKK behind the scenes. And keep an eye out on our socials as well, because we might have a small little teaser for another announcement coming up shortly later this week with Hammy, Remixed Fern, Siren, Pastry, and CKK. I've been Vapor with Broadcasting Esports Every Play.